I don't think that the movie is trying to give you a straightforward narrative of like, you should be rooting for Linda and like the victim comes out on top. I think that is where some of the nuance does come in, where it's like they're both terrible in different ways. He's probably more unlikable, definitely, than her for most audiences. But you need that too, because it does allow for that level of like where everything is kind of funny when they're just constantly going back and forth and lying to each other and bullshitting. And so that you can have that kind of ending where she just like clocks him in the head with a golf club and like it is funny. Where usually it's like if somebody's bashing someone's head in with a golf, like it's not funny. And then like obviously like then like benefiting off of it and having a really nice life. But it feels like the perfect ending for the movie because it does feel like it's really about Linda's character arc. And whether or not you like her, you think that her actions were justified, whatever.
Right.
I really think that was so well done that you see like she really did take in something. And she is like, okay, like now I'm going to be like the best version of Linda. And I'm going to pretend to a certain level. And now I have that skill. I think that she was the entire movie too. They show that in those scenes where like you as the audience think like, oh, like maybe like I agree with you. I always thought that he was bullshitting her, but like that he is charming enough where it's like, oh, okay, like maybe he's kind of softening towards her. That she learned how to do that, I think, from watching him do it over and over and over again.
Isn't it funny that she reads all these survival guides and she's like kind of a survivalist, and like the real world survival that she needed to learn was from the asshole guy.
Yeah, the whole time.
The whole time. She didn't need a survivalist books. She didn't need those. She needed real world skills.
She needed a douchey frat guy. Yeah. To especially like just within the world that she was in the beginning of the movie, and maybe that corporate kind of world, that office place, that she didn't have that skill. And I feel like the beginning of the movie does show that it doesn't matter necessarily how smart she is and how long she's been there and if she deserves a promotion, that you have to have that level of being able to schmooze with people and that the coworkers like you and they invite you to karaoke night, like, you know, and she just like couldn't do that. And then at the end, she seems so at ease and so charming. She's got the ponytail flowing in the wind and like everybody loves her. And it's very satisfying just to see that she like has adapted in that way.
Do you think that Raimi is trying to say that anybody, though, who gets a taste of power turns into this?
Maybe.
That's just like a more lofty thing that I'm like, I don't think that Raimi's actually trying to make a case for that, but it is like, I guess, a question you could pose.
Yeah, it definitely did occur to me where I think when you're watching it, like it does, then like I do have to think about like, oh, okay, if it was me in this situation, not that I think that I would end up killing, you know, I'm not Linda, but like
I'd probably get off of that first boat. I would have swam to the boat, gotten the attention.
Which like it's interesting too, like her reaction, because at first she is genuinely excited. She's like, oh my God, she runs. And then she has that moment of realization where I think that's the difference between her and maybe a lot of other people, where they would just be like, yeah, like we need to get off this. We have to go back to real life. And she is the kind of person that has a moment where she's like, well, wait a minute, you know, like strategy and planning. Like, well, why don't we see this out for a little bit? Like, why don't we? And then we see too that in that same scene where she saw the boat, she saw the house. So then she's thinking about like, oh, okay, now I have this house. I really have the upper hand and he can be my subordinate. And I might never have that opportunity in my life. So like, I'm going to do it. And I do think that there are probably more people. There are probably a lot of people think that they wouldn't, but maybe would seize that opportunity, especially with somebody that previously in real life was above them and also made them feel very, very small. Not just like, you're my boss, like that he was, you know, terrible.
Actively terrible to her. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's saying again, you know, going back to my life, I'm thinking about like, okay, my actual life with my husband and my dog and my cat and all that crap, you know? But yeah, I don't know, if you took those things away from me, maybe I would stay on the island, because sometimes I do think about being on a desert island with no responsibilities and all you have to do is figure out how to survive. That sounds nice. I don't know what that says about me as a person or my life. But yeah, sometimes when I see these like survivalist type things where people end up on islands and all they gotta do is survive, I'm like, that doesn't sound that bad, you know? Cut off the internet, cut off everything. Like, no, yeah, I love film. I'm going to miss movies. But I think that like when your day to day is literally like finding water and hunting or gathering and things like that, makes life a lot simpler.